Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going today? Hope you guys are doing well. Everything is going good on this Saturday. Wonderful Saturday. Put my necklace out. Hope you guys are doing well. I just came back from the gym. Sorry for the Friday fireside chat a little bit late. Had some computer difficulties yesterday. I purchased a new Mac Mini, as I told you guys in the beginning of this year when my laptop broke, and I've been having some difficulties because I didn't buy enough capacity apparently. So I should have bought a larger capacity. So I had to do some moving around to make sure that I have enough room to store different all my documents. But I've done some work and we got that straightened out. So been a few days. Apologies for the absence. Actually, no apologies. Taking some time for myself. There's a lot going on in the world, as I said before. So it's important to take some time for yourself as well, to be able to come back to yourself. And let me just get some. Oh, mercy, I broke this lamp on my desk, y'all. Oh, no. There we go. Just going to get some more light going on. We're going to go to the I Ching. So it's the same text that we've been reading for the past few days. If you're new here, you can go to the first video in the Read With Us list where I discuss the I Ching. And there we're discussing all the different kinds of how to actually build the I Ching reading for the day. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. You have to have 3 coins. And open it up to the diagram. Oh, already got a thing here. I don't need that. Perfect. Already had a blank piece of paper there for me, so I didn't need to. Yes. So here we're going, guys. The I Ching. I always put the camera down so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on this I Ching reading for today, guys. Let's see what we got. Oh, I forgot to do the sound check. I'm pretty sure it's always working. I haven't had issues with that in a long time, so it should be working okay. Dun dun dun. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. 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 It sounds like it's breaking up a little bit. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello. So I think there's like a little bit of delay, but you can still hear me. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started on the reading. So we're going to get our 3 coins, as always, and start the reading. Make sure that we have the right hexagram. We got our first changing line. So heads, you multiply times 3, tails times 2. We have 3 heads, so we have our first changing line. Even numbers get a gap. Okay. Y'all know I always have to look back. It's been a few days though, so I haven't done it in a few days, so I had to double check just to make sure we're on the same track. So we're gonna do 5 more. Look at that, another changing line. 6 again. 4 more. Let's go, guys, and do the reading. I was about to say we got another changing line. I'm gonna be the what? 5, 6, 7. It's an odd number, so the solid line. Okay, we got our first bottom trigram. I've been trying to memorize these in case you guys didn't remember. I'm gonna say this is mountain. Did I get it right? Yeah. Okay. Damn, y'all. I'm learning all these hexagrams. So just as FYI, this is the hexagram for mountain. You can see on the side there the different combinations. Ooh, I don't know if you can even see it. There you go. So I'm like starting to memorize all of those. So that's really cool. I'm pretty sure Carl Jung would be very pleased. Okay, so now let's go and do the top trigram. 6 and 8. Let's say even number, so there's going to be a gap. And 2 more for the upper trigram. And let's see what we got, guys. 6 and 8 again. So we're going to have a gap. And the last one, guys. Let's see what we got today. We have 2 changing lines so far. Changing lines, we got 3 changing lines today. This is number 9. It is a even number, so it's going to be a solid line. So we have actually mountain and mountain, 2 mountains on top of each other. Mountain and mountain. So this is hexagram 52. Again, you're just going to use that chart here to take the top and bottom trigram. So this is the upper and then the lower over here. And then you're just going to use that to map it. So let's go to 52. I feel like we've read this before. but I can't remember what it is. Oh, actually, we didn't read this before. Oh, isn't that nice? We have a first time hexagram, y'all. Okay, so as always, we want to do the double checking to make sure that the hexagram matches the key. Yep, we have the right one. So this is the first time that we're reading this hexagram. In case you'd like to take a screenshot of reading your own time, you can find this text in the public domain. It's very, very old, but this is just in case you want to read it when you have some time. Those are the changing lines. Okay, so let's get started. Hexagram 52, and we have 3 changing lines, 1, 2, and 6. Okay, so hexagram 52, keeping still, mountain. Still your emotions through meditation. Receiving this hexagram is a sign that you need to quiet your emotions so that you can think clearly. To answer the clamorings of the ego with action now is to invite misfortune. The I Ching counsels non-action and the stilling of your emotions through meditation. So meditating to come back to ourselves, to remain calm, to return to equanimity so that our perspective is clear. And when we have a clear perspective, we can make more effective decisions. Continuing with the reading. It is in the nature of having a body to have strong feelings and impulses. However, if we allow our thinking to be controlled by them, we cannot act with gentleness, neutrality, and graceful wisdom of the sage. Instead, we move rashly when we ought to keep still, or we solidify when we ought to remain fluid. Therefore, it is necessary to quiet the body and its inferior elements so that our thoughts and actions may be clear and balanced. 3 things are advised. First, sit quietly in a self-supporting position with your back straight and your eyes closed. Second, observe the flow of your bodily emotions. Do not judge or resist them. The simple practice of watching them come, linger, and go without acting on them allows you to gradually separate them from your thoughts processes. Third, turn your inner conflicts over to the deity for resolution. The help of the higher power is only made available to those who ask for it in a disciplined way, who make an offering of their stillness and mindfulness. Through meditation, we reduce the influences of the inferior elements and make it possible for the sage to assist us. Keep still as a mountain now, and you will be rewarded with good fortune. So I really love this hexagram because it reminds us to come back to center, to escape, maybe not escape is the right word, but to let aside, to let as is the current chaos that we're all collectively feeling. I know I'm not the only one that's feeling that. I mean, there's a lot of pressure from many different directions for people in every different country, every different continent. I guess continent and country, I should say that backwards. But if you allow yourself to get caught up into the chaos, the ego trips, you're separating yourself from the higher power. So you can either take your energy and power from your ego or from that higher power. Ideally, the ego or persona is an expression of the soul. But many people in this world have created false egos and false personas in order to gather and manipulate the energy that they need in order to sustain themselves. Now, this process should, ideally be done because the ego is developing and the persona is developing in sync with the true self. So then the actions that are led by the ego and the persona are not only feeding those constructs, but also the self. Where we get into a problem is when people have constructed the false ego or false persona, the false self, as a result of growing up in a dysfunctional family. And then your actions are providing energy, but your true self, your subconscious mind knows that this is not the real you. And so it's not going to feed you sufficiently. It's not going to nourish you, right? And so the most important thing is that we release that, especially in this time of turbulent chaos where our emotions are swayed by external events and circumstances. And we need to just return to ourselves, to be grounded, and then to make decisions from a place of equanimity and inner peace, where we can receive the guidance of the stage. Ask every time you have an issue, it's like making that conscious contact with God. I thought about in this section here, and the third, turn your inner conflicts over to the deity for resolution. And so this immediately made me think about the 12-step program. And so in many of those different programs, there's a step. Different programs have different steps, right? And they're like turning our will over to the higher power to give us guidance and nurturing. And so this is the most important thing, because if you keep trying to fight it with your ego, your limited understanding, you will not be able to receive the wisdom that you need. I even thought about this in terms of the matrix, for example. So like a little bit of a personal example. So if you grew up in a dysfunctional family, you might not realize the what is a good way to word this? You might not realize all of the skills that you didn't develop. Okay. So, like in the movie The Matrix, when Neo and Morpheus are fighting in that first karate studio for the first time, he's saying, trust yourself. In the Matrix, they are able to like upload this information, like they lay in this seat, put the thing on the back of the head, and the information just like flows to their brain, and you learn it like instantaneously, and you are a master at that by trusting, believing, and opening yourself. And I think much is the same for people who came from dysfunctional families and have a consequent lack of skill development. You can get so hyper fixated on the lack of the skills and practices, the repetitions that you needed in order to really ground yourself in those skills, right? You can get kind of obsessed about that. But ironically, this was something that kept me up for a long time, kept me stuck for a long time. And once I realized that the wisdom, knowledge, understanding that I need comes to me naturally when I relax and allow the wisdom of the higher power, of the sage, of God, of the universe, however you want to call it, allow that to come to me. And then I will know what to do. So again, it's kind of like that, was it John 2:12 or something? Like, do not be transformed by this world, but by the renewing of your mind. By the renewing of your mind. It's again so funny how all of these things come back together. So now let's go ahead and take a look at those changing lines. We have to read number 1, 2, and 6. First line, shock frightens us, and at first we are convinced that it is bad. When we learn the lesson it has come to teach, we are thankful for it. This is so beautiful. This is actually exactly what I was reading yesterday. And so meditation will, Jesus Christ, this is so funny, because just in the Friday Fireside Chat episode I shared yesterday with Dr. John DeMartini, sharing the DeMartini method, how to question and inquire into your circumstances, your perspectives, in order to flip them to see how something is serving you as opposed to hurting you, how life is working for you as opposed to against you, to shed yourself from that victim mentality and to have a more empowering and vitalizing perspective so you can operate effectively in the world. So that first line, shock frightens us, and at first we are convinced that it is bad. When we learn the lesson it has come to teach, we are thankful for it. So you can harness that lesson that you learned through no matter what experience. The soul, as Dr. John DeMartini said, the soul can find any circumstance, can view any circumstance, and feel joy. There is no limitation. The only limitation is your mind and the perspective that you're allowing yourself to have. And so it is increasingly important that we're able to look at things from a place of equanimity and balance, to begin to rework our understanding, to see where the things that we think are negative are actually feeding us. For example, if you didn't have a mother or father, you could say, oh, people are going to judge me badly. It's going to look, worse for me. I'm not going to be loved or supported or valued because of this. That is you looking at the cost, the deficit of not having a mother or father. But you can also view that in a way that says, oh, wow, I didn't have a mother and father and I still achieved all of these things. That must mean that I'm really fucking amazing, because most people need parental support, nurturing, and guidance. And I did it without any help. So You can also ask yourself, for example, then the next question you could think is, okay, if I did this all with no help, imagine what I would do if I had help. That's the next question. And then the third question is something that Brian Withers says, the lack of something is not a sign or evidence of its indefinite absence of your life. So if you didn't have those supportive relationships early in your life, what the creative process is teaching us is that is your inner being calling for the corrective experience that you need. The problem is that if you stay stuck on the fact, I didn't have parents, I didn't have the supportive relationships, I didn't, you stay stuck, circling, looping, ruminating on that. All this doing is causing your energy to attract the same. But if you focus on the creative process, as Brian Withers explains, and you view the absence of those supportive relationships as evidence that those are on the way, because your inner being is calling that to you. And from that understanding, you can feel joy. So those are 3 ways that we can turn a negative into a positive. And once you do that, your subconscious mind, you had to repeat it. And then your subconscious mind is actually feeding you positive emotions, thoughts, energies, belief, as opposed to sticking with that faulty understanding and explanation. So going to the second line now. Do not resist unpleasant circumstances. If you withdraw into contemplation, you can regain what has been lost. Beautiful also. And the 6th line. Engagement with shocking events robs you of peace of mind, inviting disaster. Withdrawal into stillness restores your balance and prevents misfortune. And so I think that last line is really driving us home to stop watching the news, because we're literally programming our mind. Ooh, I think, wait a minute. I read the wrong lines here. I read the changing lines from 51. Okay, so I had to read the right changing lines. Okay, it's the first, second, and third. Okay, so the first changing line, I read the changing lines from 51, but we're on 52, hexagram 52. This is the hexagram for today. Keeping still, mountain. So I read from 51. I'm going to go to read the correct ones now. Okay, so the first changing line. It is not a time to move. It is easier to still yourself now than after action has been initiated. Remain innocent, quiet, and detached. The second changing line. There is a great desire to move, but the time is not right. Let others do what they will, and hold to stillness and acceptance. This enables the sage to do his work. And the 6th line. Perseverance in stillness, in both thought and deed, forms a noble heart. The ultimate fruit of a noble heart is a complete peace of mind. And so sometimes, wow, that last one really reminds me, or gives me some peace and understanding that, even when the wicked or corrupt people seem to be taking advance in the world, they are doing that at a detriment to themselves. Even in Carl Jung, in the Red Book, he wrote in that chapter on magic, I think that we read last time, that, the cost of magic. In the Red Book, there's a section on magic. And Carl Jung says the cost of magic is the loss of your peace. The cost of magic is the loss of your peace. Magic is your ability to manipulate or influence the subconscious mind of yourself, or I think mostly for others. That's when it becomes negative. But you can also use quote unquote magic to improve your own subconscious mind. But many predatory people use magic, dark magic, to influence others in a negative way, to exploit and extract them. And Carl Jung in the Red Book says that cost is to sell your soul, because you will never know peace once you align with this view and perspective of the world as a competitive place where you must fight, where you must lie, cheat, steal, manipulate. Your heart, the cost of that is the lack of peace in your heart. That's the advantage. So even if you see these people winning, dominating, it's only going to be for a certain amount of time, because their hearts are not stable. Their hearts are not grounded. Their hearts are not in a place of peace. And that means that they'll be less able to manifest, to live their life in a way that is in alignment with the utmost good. And of course, I can't say with definitively that this is what we are experiencing right now. But in these difficult and challenging times where many people are struggling, Many people are filled with doubt, fear, worry, anxiety, stress, all of these things. It's so important that we're able to come back to ourselves and to open our heart. That is the most important thing that we need to do collectively right now, not just in our own individual healing journeys, but we need to open our hearts. And how do we do that? By returning to the wisdom of the sage and releasing our grip on ego. And ego relies on magic to gain its power. The most important thing that we can do right now is keep our heart grounded and keep our mind in a place of peace, as opposed to fear, tension, and anxiety. This is the most important thing we can do right now. So that's the reading for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care of yourself and please do be well. I'll see you soon.